Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and I conduct work life video interviews with career professionals that become an all intuitive conversation. Aloha, welcome to another episode of All Intuitive Conversation. So, today is a special webcast as always, but what's a little different is that the next guest I have is Stephanie, and she and I have connected before. However, Stephanie was interested in coming into all intuitive conversation with me live. So, let's go ahead and add her to the screen. Aloha, Stephanie.
Aloha. It's great to be here, Felicia.
It is amazing to be again with you. So, as I was just saying, you and I know each other. Usually, the
Mhm.
guests, I have not met with them before, but we are working on some projects together and we're connecting. And it was just led for us to have this all intuitive conversation. So, thank you for being open to have this conversation with me. So, my first question is to ask you, what intrigued you about coming on the show today?
I'm always intrigued by wisdom and guidance that comes through messages, other people's experience, the cards, because I work with oracle cards as well. I work with
Mm,
energy, I work with people, and there's always something new for us to learn that we may not have seen.
okay. So that's awesome that you're staying open to that. So tell me a little bit more about your spiritual journey and being open to like oracle cards and readings and all of that kind of
Mm.
stuff. Like, how did you get there?
It took spirit batting me upside the head with a baseball bat a few times for me to finally start paying attention, which
Hmm.
happens to many of us after my 27-year career on Wall Street ended.
Hmm.
And I started just exploring a little bit. I was really becoming a sponge for spiritual and transformation work. And I went on a retreat with Colette Baron Reed up in the summer of 2016.
Yes.
And I received my first deck of oracle cards. That was the weekend I gave myself permission to officially leave Wall Street.
Hmm.
And through working with cards, it connected me with the trust within myself. Because we're taught to doubt ourselves and to put our opinions in other people and what other people tell us, and whether it be work or church or doctors or family.
Hmm.
And I would ask a question and pull a card, and it would be the same thing that I had been feeling or thinking. So it really opened me more to myself.
Mm. Okay. So yeah, so one of the things that we talk about this whole journey with cars because it's taboo for a lot of individuals, right? And it's interesting because you already have 5 cards that have
I love it.
decide to appear and come about. So it's like, okay, doing that. It's interesting because the very first one that came up was one that a lot of people are familiar with, is the Master Jesus.
Mm,
And he's coming bringing this lesson talking about forgiveness. It says, "You are on the path of light, love, and forgiveness. Excuse me, Father healing is possible at this time." And then it went to journey, which there's this woman that's on this bridge, but it's like
mhm.
one of those old school bridges that's kind of, you may question it and it's kind of like ranky, like, oh, is this gonna help me get across and go to the other side? So with I'm being asked with Jesus and the journey, did you have a religious background?
I did. I was born Protestant,
Hmm.
and when I was 6 years old, had a dream where I felt like I fell through my kitchen floor and I was going to hell
Okay. So the
because
falling through. Yes. Uh-huh.
yes, because I had thought I had done something wrong when actually something wrong had been done to me. And this has been a journey of forgiveness and of healing the toxic masculinity that I took on
Hmm.
and the lineage of both sides of my family. And I stepped away from organized religion when I was in junior high and high school. And part of working with oracle cards and the work that I do has brought me to a deeper level of connection with consciousness, which knows only love. There is no judgment. We are not going to hell. There is no original sin. We are all born pure. And so it's been an interesting journey to come full circle, and yet the circle is so much wider than it originally was.
Mm. Well, that explains, like I said, the whole like I was talking about before, like it's you seems
Hmm.
Reiki, like you're gonna fall through this, but of course you talk about the dream that you had of falling through your floor and just going to hell, which still talks about your personal journey because in the very next card that came out was talking about the door to personal healing and happiness.
Hmm.
And what stood out again here for me, interesting enough, was the whole dove and the rainbow aspect of that because it is very symbolic, and especially in Christianity, of like Jesus and just how that dove just kind of showed up, when he was at his moment of um, like baptism, like this is my son, I'm very much proud of him, and there's just this big awe awakening moment for that. But rainbow in Christianity, I don't know if you ever heard this before, but it was also a sign and symbolism that God would never destroy the earth again by water. Like that was his promise. And he
Hmm.
put a rainbow up into the sky. So my next question for you is that as you went on this personal healing in order to find your happiness, what is it that you left behind and that you were saying, I'll never do that again?
I left behind blame.
Mhm.
I was very good at finger pointing and blaming others for misdeeds and abandonment and hurt. And I am the common denominator.
Mm.
So I got to decide, did I want to continue to repeat patterns and continue to hold these old stories, or did I want to find a different path for myself? And it's interesting. I have on my second tattoo in the middle of it a dove.
Of course you do.
And colors of the rainbow, because we are all connected via energy and
Yes.
peace and love. And we get to choose every single day how we want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I made the conscious choice of not living in fear anymore, of not carrying the stories, of allowing myself to let go of the layers that I had internalized.
Mm.
And it's a choice every single day.
Well, it's like I said, it's showing up, the mastering and the plan. Then there was two other cards that came out that talks about it's just simply the angel of balance.
Mm. I just felt chills when you put that up.
Tell me about that. And rest and rejuvenation. So, based off of that, tell me about the chill, the experience that you're having when you saw this.
So, one of the things that I'm really beginning to write about and speak about
Uh-huh.
is the balance within of our masculine and feminine. And
Mhm.
the divine masculine, and I take the word divine out because people think of that as woo.
Mm.
And really, healthy masculinity is creating boundaries. Healthy femininity is expressing our emotions and saying what it is that we need. Toxic masculinity is the push and trying to control. Toxic femininity is neediness and playing the victim.
Mm.
And so it's looking even deeper at the boundaries that we create that are really revolve around the toxic aspects and making the choice to say, I no longer want to carry these and moving into the positive aspects. And our balance is rarely just 50-50. We might be
Mm.
40-60, and then we might flip to the other side. There's always this flow back and forth
Mhm.
as we continue to heal and let go of the toxic aspects that we've carried that we choose to let go.
Well, it's amazing because, like I said, the cards are still just flowing along with your assignment
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, because here, you have the female energy that's showing up, and then the masculine. But then
Mm,
it's like you said, it's like this picture is not something that you see all the time. A masculine, he's there
mm-mm,
just sitting like, I'm just in this moment, breathing in, just letting it flow, resting and just rejuvenating, right? So that's flowing and understanding the balance between that. But what was your motivation behind wanting that to happen for people to be able to just flow and embrace and have the balance of the divine masculine and the feminine? Like, what was the undercurrent for you on that?
I created a mantra for myself when I was 13.
Mhm.
I'm never getting married. I'm never having children. I'm going to college and I will never be financially dependent on a man. And yes, I've been married. And yes, I had my career on Wall Street. And I helped to raise 4 children. And what I see underneath that is that it was not safe to be feminine.
Hmm.
And that was the environment I grew up in the 60s and 70s. And there's been this swing of the pendulum that women have to take over. Well, that's using the same energy that we've been living in. And Einstein tells us you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it.
Mm. Mhm.
So, really, being feminine is not dangerous. Being feminine allows me to stand in the best aspects of my divine femininity and my divine masculinity. And rest and rejuvenation doesn't have to be meditation, it can be stillness, it can be going out in nature. There are many ways that we can rest and rejuvenate ourselves. And
Mhm.
I got tired of carrying the bag of rocks.
Mhm. Well, it's interesting you say that
Yeah.
because when I looked at this picture in a way, the very first one, we were talking about the bridge and just the baggage and luggage, just like, is she really gonna carry that all the way over? But
Mhm.
this picture kept standing out because it looks like this whole rock and, like, she's just putting that over because if it was something that was leading her in advance, she already has a new light, right, in front of her.
Mhm.
This, she's like, this is no longer serving me. I'm, like, just kinda just letting this go, and I'm okay with
Yeah.
doing that, right?
And I love the path, just part of the path in front of her is illuminated, but the
Mhm.
whole path is not illuminated.
Right.
And
Right.
I love that because we can take a couple of steps, and the step I take today can open me up to 3 different steps tomorrow. If I'm only focused on the end goal, I miss
Mhm.
the magic. I miss all kinds of options and opportunities. And that's been part of trust and forgiveness as
Mm.
well. Because when I want control, I actually have none.
Mm.
And it really closes me off from the magic of just those next couple of steps ahead of me. And it's almost a daily reminder. So it's building that muscle of trust and allowing myself to be in that space of it's okay that I don't know.
It, it is okay. So the question that comes up now is, how would you encourage someone to forgive? What does
Mm.
that look like? How does someone forgive?
Part of the process that I've taken myself through is I don't have to agree with what happened.
Mm,
Forgiveness is really me not being defined by the story anymore. I
mhm,
forgave my abusers. I don't agree with what happened to
mm,
my body. I decided that I'm no longer going to carry that story of being a victim of men in my life.
mhm,
So forgiveness is really for us. And sometimes it's going through the five stages of grief, of the sadness and the anger and the acceptance,
hmm,
so that we can finally move on and no longer be triggered. Because really, those people come into our life as catalysts, and we get to choose every single day.
mm. I love that. So I was shuffling a particular deck that was about shamanism,
Mm.
kind of connection. And when I say the word fetish, what comes to mind?
The first is peculiar, and the second is distraction.
Mhm. Okay. So this is what the picture looks like. Peculiar.
Mm.
Like these different things that come out. What it
Oh,
says on the
interesting.
back of this card, it says a fetish is any object that carries the embodiment or a container for a powerful spirit ally. Find a
Mm.
fetish that holds a spirit guide you feel strongly aligned with. My fetish is imbued with spiritual power and unconditional love. I trust the power that is contained within the fetish. And it's interesting because, like I said, when I was looking at this first picture, like you said, we have this like this rock that there's something in it that's no longer serving me. But then after you had your healing and this door to
Mhm.
happiness, right? It came back again when we talked about balance. But notice she's back to holding like this little jar of this
Mhm.
liquid that has her really focused. So it's almost like this another manifestation vision of her fetish. Like what is her container and what's helping her to live and maintain today. So that comes to the question for you, like what is your fetish? What is helping you to live and maintain and what are you focusing on today?
I focus on helping others get their voice, share their stories, no longer be held back
Mhm.
by how we have felt silenced. And so it's interesting of the journey of these cards as well is
Mhm.
I distracted myself for 27 years on Wall Street because I didn't want to pay attention. And when I finally did, it's now focusing on rather than trying to distract myself from the negative, I now, if you want to call my fetish, is one of healing. And I continue to do my own work.
Yes, well, it's so interesting because I just love how they work. Because
Mm.
it goes back to when you were talking about Wall Street, so immediately we filled out. So I went back here, and it's like when you looked at the little signs, it was just kind of like, yeah, because you remember when you see pictures of Wall Street, and they have all those different arrows, and like it's New York and all these different places, right, of doing that. And then the confirmation of that was the next one that came out was the umbrella of of financial of where you were at, just dealing with this whole money, and you were working so hard and doing all those different things as a superwoman, managing all those different things, being like this whole setting this positive expectation that this is the things that I'm supposed to do. But that fell under the angel of the balance and the rest and rejuvenation. And it went back to what you said of being like in nature,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm.
and just embracing that all like around you, and just it's this whole beautiful thing. So if you're talking like you did it, you took this journey, you were able to leave these other things behind. What are some words of encouragement that you would give to someone back, just like back here on this bridge?
Mm.
What would you say to her in order to help her to progress through her journey?
So every night I ask Spirit for guidance as
Mm,
I'm going to sleep. And Spirit speaks to us through dreams and symbolism,
mhm.
sometimes messages. I would get a word or a sentence when I was waking up,
Yes.
sometimes dreams, and I would journal on them. And sometimes the messages were things that I didn't necessarily want to hear, and yet they were perfect for me to let go of a story, for me
Mhm.
to go deeper into trust within myself, for
Yes.
me to connect with the wisdom of the greater universe and consciousness that is always available for us.
Mm,
So it really comes back to trust. When you ask from within your heart for guidance, you will always receive the perfect message.
So I was asking Emmanuel, as you were channeling in the energy and the vibe that you were going through, of what is that message? And you, like I said, it has a lot of green. You have a lot of green. So what came up was the crystal adventuring in this green,
Mm.
and it says create your own luck. So going to here, here's what it says. Luck starts with you. Simply by changing your energy, you have the power to shape your own fate. Going back to like this whole picture, right? You decide what
Mm-hmm.
you want to do. The first step is to align your thoughts, beliefs, and energy with what you want. Once you are fully aligned, you can attract the opportunities you desire to accomplish your goals. Like a magnet, you can set yourself up for the best possible outcome in any situation. Your luck is not coincidence, it's your own creation.
I love it. As we co create,
As we co create.
as we co create.
As we
Yes.
co create.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that, as you're doing that, and as you were saying, starting with the forgiveness piece, is what I was kind of very much hearing, is that as you start this journey, you can forgive yourself for some things that
Mm-hmm.
you may have done, right? And then forgiving others, so you can go through your door of personal healing and happiness, and you can start balancing the whole divine masculine and feminine and um, energies to make that, as eventually to create your own luck, with that. So with that, as we're kind of wrapping up in this time, still feeling led to ask you, how what support would you like to have in your life right now?
Great question. Someone I can lean on, and not from a dependent perspective, really from a support, someone who has my back fully. And that may be through a personal relationship, that may be through a coach. It feels more from a personal relationship perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I have some big decisions coming up as well. And it's things are uncertain, and that's okay. And knowing that I have that support, and it may be a community of people as well. It's really, I think, so many of us seek community and support, and knowing that we can have those conversations to say, I need help, and
Yes.
there not being any judgment.
Okay. Um, so when you were originally talking, it kept going back to Jesus.
Hmm.
Um, and reading the last sentence on the bottom of this card, it says, Father, healing is possible at this time. Father, healing is possible
Hmm.
at this time.
Hmm.
Um, that in your situation and kind of what you're going through, it was a reminder that healing is possible
Is
for you.
possible. And I heard that when you initially said it, and it really resonated with me. And I've been doing a lot of healing going back multiple generations on my father's side.
Yes.
Yeah. And doing a lot of work of late in that space.
Okay. So yeah,
Yes.
like I said, it's just being pulled that way of
Hmm.
connecting with Jesus and fathering healing is possible at that time, and owning that and embracing that. And then as I went forward, Paul the Venetian
Hmm.
came up, and on him he says, experiencing grace. Share your gifts with grace. Ways of inspiration and love are coming to you. And as I look through this, green is running all through your these these cards. But you started with blue, and blue was connected to the throat chakra,
Hmm.
which is about the communication and speaking your truth, um, and continuing to do that. But what it was connected here, what I noticed was that he was still touching his heart,
Heart. Yeah.
um, which is represented in green,
Hmm.
which is all um, through this. And then even with Paul, there's this rose that's still in his heart. Um, so let me ask you about the rose. Have you
Mm.
noticed one lately? Seen one?
I have quite a bit.
Okay.
And it's interesting. I went to a drum circle on Friday night,
Uh-huh.
and I've been opening my heart more,
Yes.
continuing to clear the blocks and the energy around it. And Rose has come to me a number of times in the last week or so.
Okay.
Hmm.
Well, it's there again. Just continue to be
Beautiful.
symbolic of just continuing to open your heart and just being open for that, but then believing that there's healing is possible for you at this time. Um, so with the rose, and then encouraging you, when is the last time you wore something green?
Well, I have a shade of aqua in my blouse.
Hmm.
When was the last? I actually wore a green t shirt the other day.
Okay. So as you either feel encouraged giving you this kind of like this ritual and
Hmm.
check, as you because it's falling in line with the whole fetish and this object. I think right now this object for you is going to be this rose. So I
Mm.
was encouraging you to like get this whole rose thing, resting in the rejuvenation, connecting with the Master Jesus, and understanding the healing is possible for you at this time, and then listening for the continuing guidance that they're going to give you regarding
Beautiful.
that support that you were looking for
Beautiful.
um, in your life at this time. Uh,
Beautiful, perfect, and so in line with where I
okay.
am.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So long as you are, long as you is encouraging and reading for you. So
absolutely. Yes.
So it has been a pleasure connecting with you. It looks like we've had some comments. So I am going to there were some hellos,
Mm,
so for sure. And then another LinkedIn user I'm not able to see right now, but thank you so much for connecting and sending the okay. So look, I'm gonna show because evidently I was meant to show you. It
the
was a
heart.
heart.
Beautiful.
So evidently that's your sign
Hmm.
for today. So thank you so much for connecting with me, Stephanie, and being open today to have this conversation with me. Thank you again to those that have joined me live. And until we meet again next week, this has been an awe intuitive conversation.